Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Brand Chat interview with my pal, Chef Deb Cantrell, who, by the way, not only is riding two horses with one ass, balancing two brands, both a corporate and a personal brand, which I am so excited to share with you during our time together, but also she is the only client I've ever had who has done it all right, who basically has not tinkered with my process, listened to me, and did it A to Z. And subsequently, it worked for her. It worked in a big way for her. And that's why she's here today, because I want her to share her story, because I think that brand gets a bad rap. I think that it's something where people really question whether or not you can monetize as a result of it. And she's here to tell you it's true. So Deb, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelly.
So Deb has a little cold, and we're going to embrace that because it's flu season. I told her that she being on this episode was too important. So unless she was, flat ass in bed, please come to my aid. And she is here, and I just am so thankful. So thankful for you, honestly.
Well, I couldn't waste a good hairdo either.
Right? That's awesome. So just a little background on us, just so that we can give the listeners and the viewers and my students some context. You found your way to me in a very specific way, and I want you to share that story. But also, as a result of that, we've become really good friends. And so the whole friendship thing has completely, overtaken the whole business relationship thing, and so part of this, you're doing me a favor, but I really want people to know your story, first of all, how you found me, but then I want to segue into your business story. And I know that it's on both of your websites, but I really want everyone to have some context on how it is you wound up starting in one industry and then winding up here. Does that make sense?
Does.
All right, so let's share with everybody how we met.
So I knew that Kelly spoke at a big national conference, and I realized that we had mutual friends in common. And the mutual friend that we had in common, we shared the same business coach. When I thought that I had reached the point that I couldn't go any further with that particular business coach, I was talking to Michelle, which is our mutual friend, one day, and I said, so there's something missing. There's a platform I don't have. I built all this stuff, but it's not congruent. And bigger than anything, it's not converting. I need some help with that. Is there a business coach? Is there a person? And she said, I have just the person for you. Her name is Kelly Lucenti. And I said, okay, and No. You have to understand what she does. So she explained to me what Kelly did. And so I called Kelly. And I remember the conversation. It's like, and then there's this, and then there's brand, and we built the foundation and congruency and all this other stuff. And it's way more than just a website. And I finally said, Kelly, stop talking. She's like, oh, okay. I said, just send me the contract. That's how it started.
And it really did just happen just like that. It's like, Deb, you are the poster child of my ideal client. And I say that not loosely, because so often, what I do is perceived as soft. A lot of people don't understand the value of brand. They think it's a logo, or they don't really even understand what it does, but they certainly can't figure out how to tie it back to ROI. And so as a result, most people invest their marketing dollars or any kind of business dollars into other things, a business coach, a web developer, let's just redo that, a plethora of other things. And brand kind of is this lost gem. And when you agreed to work with me, what happened was mutually beneficial in that for the first time I was able to see it orchestrate correctly. In other words, if I'm the maestro, right? If I'm the one who's trying to build a very specific point of view and launch this thing so that it does exactly what we ask it to do, which is get people to gasp and cry and feel compelled to work with you and give you their money, you did it all right, every single step without any resistance. And that's the key, because a lot of people will say to me, yeah, but, or, ooh, I don't want to spend those dollars, or, let's try something different, or I hear what you're saying, but I'm not feeling it, therefore I don't want to do it. And you never did that. You didn't buck me. You leaned in and you're like, you know what? It is what it is. Let's just go. If you're telling me it's true, I trust you. And that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot that you put your business and your faith in almost at the time a perfect stranger. So I really, really want to thank you for doing that.
Well, if I could have done it myself, I would have. Obviously, I sucked at it. So what's the point? I mean, if I'm going to hire an expert, then I'm going to hire an expert. And questioning what they do just wastes my time and money. I don't have time for that.
Yep, and it's your attitude I like too. So let's tell everyone what you used to do and what you do now.
Okay. Both companies?
Well, let's start with your past life, saver, and then go into shifted.
So I started out in this world as a physical therapist in my chosen profession. I realized that I was never a good employee. I always questioned, had a better way, never thought they paid me enough, so on and so forth. And it wasn't until I started having my kids that I thought, I really want to figure out a way to stay home with them. And so I was reading about being a chef, specifically a personal chef, in a magazine one day, and I thought, I think I want to do this. It was literally like that. There was no thought processes. Could I not do it? I just saw a way, because I knew I cooked well. I just saw a way to create a business and still be there for my kids. So I took the magazine in to Starter Husband at the time and said, hey, do you think I can do this? And of course, what's he supposed to say other than yes? That's like saying no. That's like saying, yes, you look fat in those pants. So what I did is went to culinary school. They taught you to own a restaurant, work on somebody's line. And I thought, that's not going to work either. So I got out of school and basically grabbed a logo that I bought somewhere that was non-customized to me, developed a business card, and off I went. But that was doing it that way. I developed 5 or 6 companies. I can't remember which. They were extremely successful, but it was never, there was always something better. There was always a next level. And it was that next level that I couldn't get to.
Got it. And but when we met, your business was very successful.
It was very successful, but I'm not a simple girl, in that I had certain goals for this company, and me personally, with the knowledge that I had, the business coach that I had, the books, the webinars, the conferences, it only got me so far. I'm a hard charger, and I've had goals my whole life, and I know what I want. And in order to get there, there was this gap, and I needed to figure out what this airspace was, because I was extremely successful and I was making a great living, but I couldn't grow anymore where I was. That was it. I had topped out. I needed to figure out where the space was in between. Right. And when I figured out, it was brand. It was all brand.
Yeah, isn't that something how that works?
If you're stuck, it's either, well, if you're stuck, it's either you or your brand. So
yeah, I wish more people could grasp that concept, but unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's just baffling to me. But it's because of what I do for a living. I see it, but many others don't. Mm-hmm. So you had just mentioned that you grabbed a logo from somewhere. Mm-hmm. How did you create Savor Culinary Services when I met you? So you had evolved up to a certain point. So how did you create that first brand?
The first brand actually came from a web designer that I chose, 10 years ago, that created a logo for me, grabbed my URL, created a website, helped me write copy. And I eventually, as I grew and transformed, I eventually grew out of him and needed something bigger than what he was capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's first. And I know you're going to ask me if I had it to do all over again, but, and I'm going to take that bigger, but what I realized, and I only learned it through the process, is that if you do websites, you need to just do websites. Yeah. So, and leave brand and graphics to an expert that does brand and graphics, and then establish a relationship with a web person. The product is completely different.
Yeah, it really is. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who just can't afford it. You know, they're at a place in their business where a lot of it has to be bootstrapped, and they have to really watch their pennies. And in a lot of cases, they have to DIY a lot of things. And, you know, that's why I created Brand School, because with the caveat of this, I do not tell people at all that they should DIY their own creative.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, most of what I say threaded throughout Brand School and everywhere else that I actually open my mouth is that you cannot outsource that. I mean, you can't do it yourself. You must outsource that. You must. Because so often people are like, oh, well, I'll just, you know, grab this clip art that I really like, or, you know, my cousin Sue is a great crafter, you know, she'll sketch me something, or whatever the case may be. And what people don't realize is that their brand identity, which are their visual elements that tell the story of the brand, is their most valuable asset.
Well, Kelly, you know what I say about wrapping bows around stuff. It's still the same stuff that you wrap the bow around. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you decided to rebrand with me, and you flew to Minneapolis in 20 below zero weather, and we were, you know, slogging through it and doing the heady stuff, and you were a trooper, and you know, as impatient of a person as you are, you really hung in there with me. But there was a moment when I think it was actually in this office, when you were sitting in that chair, and I was showing you some things on the computer, and you said, oh my God, I get it. And I'm like, yeah, what do you get? And you go, brand. And I go, what about it? And you said, brand is everything. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I got it from the chair with the little fluffy cushion on it behind you. I think, who was it? One of the pets was in my lap, and I think I threw him across the room. And I stood up behind your chair. I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. I know why now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's those aha moments, and I don't know how to bottle that aha moment. I think that people have to kind of burn 2.5 days of me in their face, because I've struggled with trying to articulate it, bottle that so people get it. But I'll never forget what you said to me, which was, I wish I'd have met you when I first started my business.
Yes.
And while we were going through that, a lot of people are emotionally attached to their, we'll call it a brand. You know, nobody thinks their kid is ugly, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to tell them it is. And for you, what I'm curious to know is, you're kind of a ball buster. You are hard charging, very independent, very much in alignment with my personality. And we take no prisoners. Like, it is just, we are full out. But
Nobody's
even what?
Nobody's got time for that.
Right. But what I've noticed is it's a very, very emotional journey when I start tinkering with people's stuff.
It is.
Very emotional. So for you, you know, kind of being on that other end of that emotional spectrum, can you share with me on an emotional level, how did your self-confidence, your personality, and how you showed up at networking events and on stage morph after your brand was redone?
Well, the beauty of it is after everything is redone, I know that you probably want me to go into the opportunities that came my way as a result of it later, but you want me to talk about just the the confidence level that I had.
I think you should talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, don't say that. Box that we'll be on. So here's the deal. You know, and it's a gut feeling whenever your stuff is just not right, where you're proud of it, but you hear those things like, well, what is it that you do again? And, you know, oh my God, I have to change the logo over here, and no, the same font isn't over here. And, you know, I just, and the big thing that I remember thinking is I can't get it out of my head so that people understand it. And somebody told me once that if your mom can explain what you do, then your brand is clear. So it was a very fascinating statement when somebody told me that. When I invested in getting the brand together, but did the work without hesitation or reservation, what happened now is I was in an elevated status because I knew that I had done something that most people talk about doing, but don't actually execute on. What started to happen is I became a magnet. And what do I mean by a magnet? I became a magnet not only because my personal brand, because a part of what you do is also image as well. When I would walk into a room, I didn't have to say anything. It was like all of a sudden heads turned. I could sit anywhere in the audience and the speaker was talking to me. So I was already represented before I showed up physically in the room. And the cool thing about it was what that led to is that led to some really big stages for me. The American Culinary Federation keynotes. I've been on the stage of eWomen Network. I've been on various stages, big stages, that they all said, the reason we're calling you is because you look so damn good every place we see you. And I thought, wow. So what came out of that was an image, both physically, but also digitally, but also internally. It fixed so much of everything, and it brought it all together in a very congruent straight line is what happened.
And some of those opportunities that you were mentioning aren't just stage. You've been written up in some major publications. Yes. You know, Food Network called you, right? Like it's no joke how all of a sudden now, instead of you cold calling and farming leads and hunting business, that you are a magnet and people are drawn to you and we're spreading like a virus about you.
Yes.
Right?
Very much so. Mm-hmm.
And it was, and honestly, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself because we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but that forced your personal brand to be built right on the heels of your corporate brand.
Yeah, it had to.
Right? And I'm excited to share with people how that actually came to be. But without getting, too personal, I know people are curious to know, by rebranding, what kind of money did you make? Now, I have been saying, but what I've been saying is that you tripled your revenue in 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is true.
Absolutely. So I don't care if you know my numbers. I'm a pretty open book. I went from when I met you, I was at about 250,000 in sales, and I just couldn't get over that number. In 1 year, I was over $1 million.
Okay. That's more than 3 times. I think I'm going to change my landing page for brand school.
Well, you put 6 figures at one point, and I thought, no, honey, you need to add another 0. Somebody told me the other day they were working on being a millionaire. They said, I've got all the zeros. I just need a 1. You do. Yes, you do.
My God. Does it say 7 figures on my page? I got to get that fixed. I think it's 7.
Oh, does it say 7?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to change that right away.
I don't know.
I think it says 7 figures, but I'm going to get that changed if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Did I actually start talking with the drawl there? So but what's going to be really funny for people to watch, and I've been so excited about this interview because you're from the South and I'm from the North, and our accents are so strong and they couldn't be more opposite. So it's like an SNL skit.
I'll throw in an oh geez every once in a while. If you'll throw in a what the hell?
What the hell? Oh my God, that is so funny. Okay. So how long after the rebrand did it take for you to see an increase in business?
You're not going to believe me. 30 days.
30 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Damn, I'm good.
Yes, you are.
Wow, Deb, that is so freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of me too, because you know what? That's a hard decision to make, because brand is not something that somebody can come to you and say, here, I'm going to give you a gift and you can touch it when you're done. That's not, you're buying a concept and an idea and faith, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's not something you can touch.
Mm-hmm. I just had a client here this whole week doing one-on-one strategy work with me. The front end of our work together, Deb. Remember that?
Did you have to go to the chiropractor too?
No, but I told her your story. But poor Deb, you've been here several times, and thank God. Certainly because we're friends, but also because we got to get shit done, right? Like that's just
not friends while we were doing that stuff.
I know, and God, the fact that you needed the massage therapist and the chiropractor was kind of insane. I don't even know if we should say that.
Ice packs on me.
Oh,
dedicated to get this done.
Oh. Well, it's funny because whereas your body was reacting, the client this week, a lot of tears because it's so hard, and she has a similar DNA to us. She's got our energy. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. And typically how I set these up is it's a Monday, it's a Tuesday, Wednesday is their homework day, it's a free day, stay in your hotel and work, and then Thursday is wrap and get on the plane. And by Tuesday night, she's like, oh, I'm just going to keep going and blah, blah, blah. And, I could have gone 3 days in a row, which I tortured you with. And she came back the third day and she's like, I hit a wall. Like, I cannot believe how taxing this is. And she said, just like everybody else, I had no idea. And she told me when she got here, even before, because we've been talking for a while, she said, I'm not changing my brand identity. I have a very serious attachment to the logo and the color palette. That's not changing, but I want you to change everything else. All right. I'm like, okay, well, it's not like I haven't been down this road before. Great. And as fate would have it, on the last day, she looked at me and she said, Kelly, do you think we need to change the logo? I'm like, yeah, sorry.
No, you didn't say sorry. You said, told you. Can we move forward now?
All right. I was just trying to be nice,
Moving forward.
Oh my God. So, one of the things that people really struggle with is writing the check, because branding isn't cheap because of the hour investment. People think that I can just pull a logo like a unicorn out of a magic hat. And that isn't the case. I mean, it is, the number of hours it takes to reconstruct a brand. And when we first talked, there was as I see in a lot of other clients, anxiety around the expense of branding. Mm-hmm. And I kind of used your tough love when I'm talking with other clients, which is, just write the check and then go throw up in the bathroom. Like, let's just go, push through. Yeah. But for you, what were your thoughts about it? I mean, it is a huge expense. So how did you reconcile that in your mind so you could get to the other side of that?
Well, I had already realized in the coach that I hired, that anybody knows that who hires a business coach is an investment. It just is. I had already realized the return on my investment for that. And I knew that in order to really grow, that it takes chunks of money, not just a little bit of money, not just I'm going to spend $100 here and $100 there and hope that it works. And then I'm going to grab a Band-Aid from over here, and then I'm going to cheap out here. What really happened is I'd already developed kind of a muscle of I have got to invest seriously in my business if I want a serious outcome. I knew what it looked like to kind of invest and put what money I had toward it. And so it wasn't all that difficult for me once I realized what would happen on the other side, because you kind of walked me through that. And once I realized that this was the thing that was missing, because everybody on this call, webinar, however it is you're promoting it, is sitting there thinking there's a gut feeling inside of them when they're saying something is missing. I'm missing something. It's that brand thing that I was missing. And I knew at some point you hit a wall and you get really tired of the headache. Then you get a migraine and then it gets worse. And then you still don't do anything about it. And then it gets to the point where you can't function anymore. And then you go, oh, maybe I should invest here. That's what happened. But I'm one of those very quick deciders. And once I decide on something, fine, let's do it. Let's get it over with. Let's do it the best we can, because I had already moved past the brand that I knew I needed to build, because I was already in the other side of it at that point.
Right. Well, and the thing that I always have to ask people who inquire about my services and my prices, I just say, are you in or are you optional? Because you're all in. You're all in, right? Sometimes grow the wings on the way down, and sometimes you got them totally architected, right? But the fact of the matter is, you're right. If we don't invest in our businesses in all areas, not just brand, but in all the other areas too, then we aren't firing on all cylinders.
No, not at all.
Right. So let's then segue into Chef Deb.
Okay.
So we retool, pardon the pun, favor, and all of a sudden we spun up all this dust.
A lot of dust.
And your peers and colleagues, which is kind of a really great compliment if you think about it, are like, holy crap, what is Deb doing? I mean, she knows food. She heals people through food, because you have a very, very specific skill set.
Right.
But, there's a lot of competition out there. So someone could hire you, or someone could hire somebody else.
No, they couldn't.
Love your attitude, honey. Love it. But the fact of the matter is, your phone's ringing off the hook from other chefs saying, please teach me this. How in the world are you doing it? Help me be as successful as you.
So, and that's actually what happened, is because once I developed the brand of Savor and I really started to push it out and told that story, because your brand is a story. It's a journey that happens, and it all culminates in this thing we call brand. So once that brand was put out there, literally I was getting calls probably 2-3 times a week of chefs going, you have made it in one of the hardest industries that there is to make it in. And you built, at that point, I think it was 6 companies. They've all been really successful. And wow, this last one, how did you do it? I was giving away a lot of advice for free. And then I thought, why am I giving this advice away for free? I need to recoup what I spent on that first brand. So let's make some money out of this. I'm going to make it sound really simple. But what I did is I created coaching programs, some digital, some not, some one-on-one, for culinary business owners. I don't care if you're a chef, if you have a culinary business or you're a chef, whatever, to grow, not start, grow their culinary business. So what happened with that is, I immediately called Kelly and I was like, go again, because now it's me. It's not a company they're necessarily buying and the products of that company. It's me, what's in my brain and what I offer. If I want, because I'd already been through the first branding process, if I want this to grow, if I want to make the money that I want to make, if I want to be on the stages, then at this point, I need to brand me. So what does that look like? And so then I had a plane ticket.
And another plane ticket. Yeah, that's right. Well, you know what? At least we're a direct flight. Very, very short to get to each other.
Yeah, and actually not overly expensive.
Right?
Yeah.
I just wish you'd embrace my weather a little more.
No. There's no point in that.
Yeah.
That's the reason it is not to be cold.
That's right. Oh my gosh. So this is something that I'm asked a lot as well, where people have one or the other, either a personal or corporate brand, and they are thinking about adding the second brand. And I'm like, whoa, I don't think you really realize what that means.
Right.
And when we talk about the fact that it's literally everything times two, budget times two, copy and content times two, social presence times two, right? Like on and on and on. Sometimes two sets of staff. Like it is literally everything times two.
Yeah.
I have both and you have both. So my question to you is, how in the hell do you balance both?
So, you know, a lot of people, when you decide that you want a corporate brand and you want a personal brand, people don't realize that you have two companies. I mean, you think, well, that's obvious. Well, no, it's two companies. It's two sets of books. It's two sets of social media strategies. It's two websites. It's all of those things. Don't think of doing it yourself. It's not going to happen. You will invest in a brand and then you will fail miserably. It just will happen. You cannot do it yourself. I have a full-time marketing director, and then she also has an assistant that she helps me to balance both companies. Do you think I have time to post on social media? No, I don't. I mean, like social media, I'm not gonna say that, but I don't. So I don't care if you're washing your cat. So the thing is, but I recognize the value for business and getting to know me and who I am personally. So it's something that, yes, you do have to have help with. And honestly, if you're at the point where you are deciding to invest in even your first brand, invest in your first big brand. There's a difference between brand and big brand that's going to catapult you. Then you probably already have at least some semblance of a staff. Maybe it's an admin, maybe it's even a VA. You already have some semblance of that anyway. So, but you will need that assistance.
Mm-hmm. And I have found, you know, having added my personal brand about the same time you did, ironically, we kind of were running business parallel at the time.
Somebody for that, or
what?
Hire somebody for that?
Funny. I've gotten a whole lot more gray hair. Now, I know people are going to argue it's my age, but I'm telling you, it is balancing both brands. That's what it is. I had a meltdown to beat all meltdowns on Wednesday of this week, where I called my right hand. She's my director of behind the scenes, and she is literally radar from MASH. She reads my mind, she predicts my actions, she keeps the T's crossed, the I's dotted, and makes sure that the Titanic doesn't go down. Like, that is her role. And I 911'd her. It was her day off, and I 911'd her, and I'm like, I need to vent. I'm freaking out. I am so overwhelmed right now. Like, I am a gnat's behind from having a panic attack right now. Mm-hmm. And I share that because, you know, you and I are perceived as Darth Vader. Like, we are, you know, we've got guts of steel, and we push through and persevere, and we, you know, leave people in our wake, and it's just go, go, go. But there are times for even us where we are just like curled in a ball on the office floor having a panic attack because it's so much.
Oh yeah. Believe me, my rocking chair on my back porch has rocked 1,000,000 miles. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I just want to share with people that if you are thinking about embarking upon balancing two brands, that it is not as easy as you would like to think by adding it. And sometimes it makes more sense to bake it into your existing brand, but not always. And again, you're going to need the support to make it happen. Like there's no question about it. So we're hitting that question that you knew was coming, but if there was one thing you could go back and do differently in terms of branding, what would it be?
That's a really hard question to answer because I wouldn't have known what I would do differently until I had the experience of going through it in the first place. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, I would have developed, and the best way I can describe this is a more cohesive brand right off the bat. So let me explain what I mean by that. Is everybody, when they're first starting a business, kind of bootstraps it just because they kind of want to dip their toe in the water to see if they really want to do this business and to see if they can just kind of do it themselves, kind of see if this business is really going to work for them because they're scared. What I wish that I had done, which would have saved me so much more time, is I wished that I would have known to develop this thing called brand right off the bat, this foundation that would have told me and been my crystal ball to know if this business was going to work or not. When I build another company, and I will, the first thing that I will do, it will be a brand new company, but the first thing I will do, I will put the brand in place first before I do anything else. Because what happens is that gives you a platform for automatic success. Now, remember I said before, if you can't reach your goals, is it you or is it your brand? So if you are taken out of it and you're left with building this brand, once you build that foundation, your business can't fail. So when I build another business again, I will automatically start with brand and not end with brand.
Mm-hmm. And isn't it funny that everybody does it backwards?
Well, it is because quick story, one of my chefs called that lives in, where she lives? Oh, she's not very far away. She's actually over in Dallas. And she said, I'm going to hire a PR and marketing firm. I said, that's great. She said, she can really build my brand. She can get me more business, all of this other stuff. And then I can really build the brand I want. I said, so let's think about that. I said, you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to stir up dust, to send people to a website, to social media around a brand that you're, number one, going to rebuild, which is not going to establish trust in people. You're going to spend all that money to send people to look at you when you don't even like the way that you look now. So that's supposed to bring you more money so you can build the brand you want? She's like, I hate you, bye. I said, okay. So.
Don't you love when they hang up on you?
She'll call back. I'm not worried.
Yeah, well, it just is proof that you're right. And oh my God. So what advice around branding would you give someone who's just starting out, or if they're stuck in a rut in their business?
Well, you may have to ask that a little bit differently, because stuck in a rut, that may not be their brand. That just may be, that could be some emotional stuff. That could be all kinds of things.
Well, and it doesn't have to be brand related. So if you were going to give somebody branding advice or business advice who was early stage,
okay, yep.
What would it be?
So, this question kind of gets asked a lot, and, you really have to analyze, and this is kind of a well-done statement, is, do you want to do this business? Because every time your business is in turmoil, it's because the owner is in turmoil. There's something going on inside the owner that is the reason why the business is in turmoil. So you really have to ask yourself, number one, what's going on inside of you? What is your mindset like? And then number two, you have to look at other things like your pricing. You have to look at things like your competition. You know, the number one thing that you can do is analyze your competition and realize what your difference is. I know you have a different name for it. I have it your power statement, your line in the sand. What makes you so different from your competition that they will get their butts up out of their recliner, put their glasses of wine down, and be so freaking excited about hiring you that that is what will move your business forward. So what I find when I'm working with the chefs and the culinary business owners, that when they do get stuck, they don't know their difference. Once I help them understand their difference, then everything changes for them. And your difference, your line in the sand, your power statement is really that very, very first building block that you have to build a brand or to move your brand forward. Until you know that, nothing else matters. Nothing matters. So I say internally, and then know your difference.
Mm-hmm. No, that's brilliant. And it is so true. Okay, so I'm out of questions. And that means it's a wrap. So,
I know you're not speechless.
I know. So I just really wanted everybody to hear from your point of view, because you know that I use you as my example in everything. When I'm on stage, it's the Deb Show. When I'm, you're in brand school, like you're everywhere. And the reason you are is because you are the goddess of what it is that I do. And so I'm so thankful that you were here today and that you shared your words of wisdom.
You know, Kelly, let me say something real quick that will probably, help some people too. And this is really coming from the heart. Like I said before, everybody gets to a point in their business that, something is missing, that you cannot put your finger on why you cannot grow. You've kind of checked yourself, but there comes a point where you simply cannot move forward without putting this brand piece in place. The beauty in investing in brand is, number one, that burning desire, that uncomfortable feeling, that little voice that wakes you up, all of a sudden that leaves. And what you see again, and what the business owners on the call are really wanting to hear, is that you have a brand new platform to do anything you want to do, but to finally do what you were meant to do and make the money that you deserve. So when you're at that jumping off point and you just can't figure it out, what you're buying yourself is a platform to finally do everything that you've wanted to do, and to make that business in your head that you will spend days with Kelly trying to get out. But it finally gets to be that business. Finally, somebody asked me the other day, how much is enough for me? And I thought, oh my God, I built that. And that was phenomenal for me. How many people I'm going to get teary. How many people can say, I met my dreams, I met my goals. It's enough. That's what brand does.
Wow. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's hard for what I do for a living. I feel very passionate about what I do. I mean, I've done it for 30 years in some form or fashion, and I try to speak the good word and share it with people and educate. And at this stage of my life, now that I have achieved a lot of what I set out to do on the pyramid of my capstone and my life goals, is to teach others what this will do for them, right? And you just summarized that beautifully, which is, man, if somebody could just grasp a part of what we're saying and then actually do it, the world is their oyster.
None of this matters unless they get off their ass. None of this matters. They can watch this recording or however it is you're going to do it all day long. and yes, and get out the whiteboard, and I'm going to call Kelly. But you know what? Until the check freaking clears the bank with you and you do the work, it's not going to matter.
No, well, that's true.
Not going to matter.
Well, Deb, if anybody out there has any doubt, they can call you.
Give them my phone number.
Right? Deb, thank you so much. I am so thankful that you did this for me, but also for your friendship. I really, really love you.
I love you too, most of the time, except when you're helping me with my brand.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's good.
Yeah. I would encourage everybody, if you get a chance, you have to go look at Deb's websites, because remember when I said at the beginning, she's the one who's done it all right? I wasn't joking. She did it right. And so if you want to look at how she built a corporate brand and a personal brand, I would encourage you to do that. To go to her corporate brand, you're going to want to go to thesavorchef.com. That's thesavorchef.com. And to go.
Let me tell you something real quick. I changed the URL to match the name. I had to. I finally was able to buy it after 15 years.
What?
savorculinaryservices.com.
You got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God, I just got chills.
savorculinaryservices.com. And while Kelly is speechless, other website for my personal brand is Chef Deb, short for Deborah, DEB.com.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say, because that was like the only fly in our ointment was your URL.
Actually in the process of changing it right now, and our beloved web person has a check sitting on his desk, changing it as we speak.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. The sea just parted and the angels are singing.
Yeah.
Deb, thank you again. You guys, do yourself a favor. You got to check out Deb. Just Google her. Like she's no joke, and certainly a resource to you if you need her. So Deb, I love you. And for the rest of you, I will see you on the next Brand Chat interview. Bye-bye. Want to learn more insider secrets on branding from the big name brands and learn how to make more money with your own brand? You'll find all of that and more inside my brand school. Just go to brandingformula.com and sign up.